Rise, minions, and welcome to unMadeGaming. We are here. We are back for another episode of The Rise. This one is called episode 28, A Time to Reconcile. It's all about reconciling your differences, making peace with the things that have happened, and becoming friends with those around you. As always, if you like what we do here and you want to support the channel like these fine folks, the best way to do that is by joining us over on our Patreon. A link down in the description down below. $5 a month gets you access to the last 3 years of after shows. $10 gets you access to exclusive prep streams and other cool things that are coming, like Q&As and other weird things. That being said, bottom right hand corner of your screen, as always, is the corruption bar. That bar serves two purposes. One is when that bar fills, I crush G's hopes and dreams. Two, as any dollar that goes into that bar goes back to this channel to do things like keep the lights on, pay the bills, hire editors, writers, artists, etc., and make this the best tabletop streaming channel in the world. And without further ado, previously on The Rise. The days and weeks following the assault on Samora had been difficult on the city, especially for Queen Atane and her generals, with each handling it in their own way. Mina took over operation of Wexi's business, Korax busied himself with the secret magical training of Arua, and Antares had become a household name in the underground fighting world. Seydlitz, working with the Hunters Guild, left the city to assist in preparing for the possibility of a siege, and after several days' absence, returned with news that Jaseth's, that's a hard word to say, forces were hidden in the foothills below the Krakens. Jaseth's. What a terrible word. Whoever wrote that name was a monster. We cut a little bit back in time. Seydlitz is still gone. This is after Mina has been given full control of Wexi's previous business. This is after Korax has begun the secret hidden training of Arua. And yes, it is still a secret if you just don't tell anyone about it. And this is after Antares has come to grips with being now known for the violence that she originally abhorred and ran from. No one has seen hide nor hair, no pun intended, of Seydlitz. What are you all doing in the city? The city itself is tense. There have been no further incursions since Rhea attacked. There has been a very casual hush campaign trying to quiet the noise of a possible god attacking the city. Quite strange. Not something you want to be thinking about before a war happens. The city itself has been very tense. You could cut it with a knife. Mina, you have been busy. Korax, you have been busy. Antares, you have been busy. But you're all in the city together. Are you seeing one another? Are you staying your separate ways like a journey song? Are you checking in with the queen, checking in with each other, anything? What are you all doing in the city without Seydlitz?
Mina would be reluctantly attending all the generals' meetings and stuff like that, which were probably in the palace. So he would duck into the library and see if he can catch Korax.
Korax, does he catch you?
He probably would. Korax is trying to avoid Mina, but at the same time, he's also sneaking in and hiding at the back of those same meetings. So if Mina looks to go, oh, there's Korax, I'll catch him after. Korax ducks out that door and legs it away from Mina. But he probably would have catch him.
The meeting starts at 4, you slip in the door at 3:59, and then you slip right back out as soon as it ends.
Yep. As she says, okay, cool, no other business. Any questions? He's gone. But yeah, he would be in the library quite a lot, crawling over any further information he can have about the city. But he's probably found it all and handed it all over by now.
Yeah, so Mina, you are able to find him in the library one day.
Mina would probably be surprised to find him because he's been looking for him for a while. And when he does approach him, he goes, I need your help to understand something.
Sure. And Korax is fiddling with books on a table and just make sure that table's between him and Mina. How can I help?
Mina pulls from his pocket a little spindle that's got gold thread wrapped around it, and he just hands it over to Korax.
I'm not one with the tailoring, Mina. This is your wheelhouse.
No, this is from the Needle of Inquiry.
You took this?
I went and saw the adherents after, and they were able to get this for me.
Right. I'm confused what you want me to do with this, Mina.
It's a cipher.
Right.
It'll replay a memory for you.
And you want to replay a memory?
Yeah, I need your help understanding something. Something Raya said.
Oh. I can do my best.
And I think he hands you the spindle and just says, you just unwind the thread.
From the last time we dealt with this, you might want to sit down.
Oh, I don't relive it. You do.
Okay. I'll sit down then. He awkwardly sits.
And if you're unwinding it, as you unwind it, it replays the scene with Raya in the pit, where she recalls everything that happened.
You sit down, Korax, and you hold the spindle in one hand, and you begin to pull the thread. And it's like unraveling a tape, right? Like a cassette tape. So you have like these two fingers, like the circle of your hand holding the spindle, these two fingers holding the thread as you sort of pull it through, and the pulling it through your fingers is what sort of activates this playing of this tape. In essence, and you begin to pull it through your fingers, and the moment you get even the barest amount past your fingertips, your eyes roll back in your head, and you are drenched in water and mud and fear as you are face to face with who you know as Mina's twin sister. But you are not seeing this from the vantage point of where you were. In fact, you have no memory of this moment whatsoever. And she is feet from you, screaming in your face about the events that happened after you left Dawn's Fall. And it takes a second, but it starts to click into place of what Mina said, that you're reliving his memory of that moment. So you play through this memory until you hit the end of the spindle, and you can feel that jerk motion in your physical body. And you've reached the end of this thing. And as soon as you let go, much like a measuring tape, it begins to wind itself back into the spindle itself. But in essence, you have relived Mina's conversation with Raya regarding the fact that when he left, it wasn't the last time the village was attacked. Everyone is dead. It's your fault. And you are now aware that seemingly everyone from the town you grew up in is quite possibly dead.
Question for you, Mike.
Yes.
Where does that replay end? Does that replay end before or after Wexy?
Mina, that's up to you.
Your accident?
I think it would end before.
Oh, okay. And would he feel what Mina felt?
It is as though it is your memory. You are recalling a memory. So yes, you feel everything. Confusion, like lack of understanding, fear, concern, every emotion you feel that Mina felt.
Okay. Well, it ends early enough to not be too bad. He's disorientated at the end of that. Jake's head looks up at Mina and says, "What? The whole village is gone? My family?"
No, I understood that bit. The bit I wanted you to
I
help
don't.
with. What's not to understand?
Well, Ray is saying this is it. Why does she say this is your fault?
That's the bit I wanted your help to understand. She said something about every time I left, it happens. What does that mean?
Retaliation? Something you've done?
But she said every time I've left, like it happens more than once. It's happened before or it's happening again.
Where have you left before this?
Nowhere. I thought she was talking about Dawnfall, as if it's happened. It possibly happened multiple times.
Yeah, I get from this that Dawn's Fall was one of those times. But
That's not something that's ever happened before. She was talking like it was possibilities of things that have happened.
has she been following you?
She's
And
been with
when we left
Telbin.
places?
She's been with Telbin.
Yeah, but we don't know when she left following Telbin. She could have been following us back from Corso. And every town we left, every place we left, Dawn's Fall happened.
I've sent out runners to Dawnsfall and other villages.
Including the places that we've been, as Chris
No.
tries to find the map.
Not back to the Nightlands, just in the RuneScape.
It may be worth sending ravens to what is that place? Ulrich? There's a monastery, Mike?
Where Chronotis was?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
It may be worth sending ravens at least into the Nightlands to Ulrich and Laredo, Old Nemro.
Okay.
There's no point sending a runner. They're going to be forever and they're going to have to walk through an army. It's not going to.
Yeah, I can do that.
But
Corax, roll
as
me.
to what?
Roll me a. Let's call it a 0. Roll me a 0 difficulty. You can add whatever you want to this. The higher the number, the more information I'll give you. A 0 difficulty. This is to do with the gods.
Do with the gods. Well, it's just going to be a roll, isn't it? Because there's no. Nothing really helps.
Yeah.
It gets to difficulty 0.
That's true.
A 6.
Rolled a 6. Okay, cool. You don't know much about what Mina is talking about. Like everything you've said so far makes complete sense. There is something like nagging in the back of your mind that's like it's like a fly in the ointment, right? The way she said it, you also feel the confusion of Mina, right? Like this could mean either all the places I have been and left, something tragic has happened to them, or she is referring to me leaving multiple times. Like she has seen him leave Dawn's Fall, and every instance of him leaving, this happens, as if she's seen multiple possibilities. And the reason this sort of sticks in your mind is the only thing capable of that would be either the old or a new god of fate, or one of their exarchs. And as far as you know, there isn't one. So if that is the case, how was she able to see that? You don't have an answer, but it does stick in the back of your mind as an unlikely impossibility. Like it shouldn't be able to happen if that's the case, but it just sticks in the back of your brain the way she said it.
Can I keep hold of this, Mina?
Yeah, I got it as a copy for you. I can remember it by myself.
I get confusion you've got here. Let me run through this a bit more. Something's not right with the words.
That's what I thought too. She's not normally coherent at the best of times, but it was much more confusing this time.
All right. Let me see if I can dig into it. And you can let me know what happened to my family. That would be great.
Yeah. As soon as I hear back, I'll let you know. And Mina spins on his heel and just marches out.
In a moment that seemed as though two friends did not want to see each other as much as the other, Mina leaves, disappearing into the crowd, leaving the castle, leaving Korax alone with a thread and a new line of questions. Korax, what are you doing in this moment?
I think Korax just sits there for a while. He's processing the fact that he's just received the news that his entire family's gone. He wasn't overly fussed about them, but they're still family at the end of the day. Over time, he will replay that memory over and over to the point that he starts writing it down word for word. Everything she says as she says it, to have a written version of everything she says.
Okay. We cut to Antares. Where are you?
Antares is sitting in her room at the inn, or at the tavern.
And what are you doing?
Same thing she does every night. No,
Try to take over the world.
Exactly. She's doing what she does best. She's stewing and she's brooding. She hasn't been to the fighting pits in a few days, and she has been more or less politely removed from the fighting pits. She won her battle against Rollo, which gained her a lot of fans and a lot of notoriety, but where things started to turn south for her is when she fought a young woman named Giovanna, who oddly looked pretty similar to Rhea. And that fight did not end well. And Terry's ended up, content warning for violence. She ended up essentially beating her unconscious and would have killed her if the crowd hadn't intervened and had to literally pull her off. And then she was removed for essentially breaking the rules. You know, you don't kill people in the Fight Club, you know? This is all just fun and games until, and Terry's comes along. And then so now she doesn't have anything to do. She is just sitting in her trashed room, cross-legged on the floor, just thinking about Rhea, thinking about everything. And she's angry red emoji face sitting there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You sit there in just a state of meditative white-hot hatred. And there is a knock on your door. That is not common for you. You haven't seen your... actually, have you been attending the meetings of the generals? Okay.
No.
You haven't seen your friends in probably since that night.
Or since the funeral.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Since a few days after that night, technically. So a knock on the door, the staff in the inn does not knock on your door. They stop leaving food. You're an adult that you can come get it if you want. There was some level of you being a general, some level of your own notoriety where they were, kind of reaching out to you, but that has since stopped. So anyone coming to you and knocking on your door is strange.
Yeah, they tried to talk to her once about the state of her room, but that didn't go over very well. So they haven't been back since.
That's true. The state of your room quickly left the inside of your room and became the state of the hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there is a knock on your door.
So she gets up after a moment and moves silently to the door and then pulls it open quite vigorously and looks out.
You see, leaned against the wall opposite your door, a friendly face, we'll call it.
Mm-hmm.
Brown leather jacket, sort of goes below the waist, simple tunic. You see a cross shoulder bag slung across, crossed arms, that perpetual 5 o'clock shadow, and not quite a smile, but definitely a grin. You see Orion.
Her eyes narrow, and she's got bruises and cuts. She's got a cut on her cheek right here that's been healing. She kind of narrows her eyes. What are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
Things. It's my business.
He looks around you and says, "It seems like you're breaking someone else's business."
Decisions were made.
Poor ones.
She opens the door. Why don't you come inside to my humble abode?
Oh, I didn't want to be rude. And he walks past you into the room, and he moves a few broken things out of the way and pulls up what remains of a chair, and sort of sits down.
3 legs.
Yeah, he leans it on the wall, so the one with the third leg, the missing third leg is he can lean on it, and he says, "Did you care to explain?"
It might be what normal people call coping.
I don't
or
think
lack thereof.
I would the latter. I don't think that normal people would call it coping.
She sits on the edge of the bed.
I think normal people would call it anger management issues.
She thinks for a moment. Sure. Is you here to lecture me now?
I can be if that's what you need.
I don't know what I need. And she gets up and like paces a little bit.
Well, that's incredibly apparent. Have you seen the others?
No, not since not since the memorial.
Is there a reason?
Well, they don't like being around scary Antares all the time. So figured it's probably best I just stick to myself and work this all out on my own.
I don't believe that any of them have said that to you.
Maybe not in so many words.
Are you assuming that that's how they would feel?
I don't think it's that far a leap of a logic.
Why don't you try speaking to any of your friends? You are, after all, trying to turn over a new leaf. You are bound for better things. And it is high time you should act like it.
So this is a lecture then.
It's apparently what you need.
If I can't deal with whatever I'm going through, how am I supposed to help them, or how are they supposed to help me if I can't even help myself? And she paces back and forth again.
That's not how it works.
I don't know how it works, okay?
Well, apparently.
Apparently. And she walks, she opens the window and lets sunlight in for like the first time. Ah.
You don't have to do everything yourself. I know in your past, you once fought as a team. You once trained as a team. Not everything has to be accomplished individually.
Well, yeah, but that team wasn't exactly, a role model to base your life decisions off of,
Everything in life is a lesson. And you can either move forward and try to learn from that, or you can do whatever this is. You walked away once, and you said you were going to be a better person, a different person. This looks like neither of those. Perhaps trying to be different.
You're not the first person to tell me that.
Maybe you should smile more. No, I'm just kidding.
Fuck you. Fuck off. I saw what Chris wrote in chat. My eyes were like,
oh God, I couldn't not do it.
get it out of the way.
No problem. He says your instincts to walk away once were possibly some of the best. You don't have to continue walking away from everything. You left. You started doing things on your own. You found new companions. You no longer have to do it on your own. This is a choice you're making. And it's a choice you're making for those around you.
I've never felt anything like that before. All right? I didn't know what to do. And she goes back to the window and she just like stares out into the street. I feel like I'm drowning, Orion.
He walks over. The chair sort of like creaks and slides down the wall. He says, "This is going to hurt. The feeling you are experiencing, this anger, grief, sadness, is the same feeling you have inflicted on countless others. This is what it's like. Take that and be better." I'm not saying you shouldn't feel the way you feel. I'm not saying this isn't rational behavior. Destructive. Perhaps. You probably should pay them for it. But this is what you've done. This is recompense. Take this, use it, do better, be better. Or stay here and get punched in the face every day. I don't know.
I think that ship has sailed.
Well, try a new one.
Yeah, well, getting punched in the face made me feel better for a time.
Well, that time has come and passed. Now you should talk to your friends. And eat something. In fact, and he kind of brushes his hands down his tunic. He says, "I will get you something to eat. You should clean up. I'll be right back." And he walks out of the room, leaving you there to think.
Yeah. And she
Okay.
picks up like a piece of wood like from a table and like puts it on the hearth of the fireplace. Got some firewood now. So she starts slowly picking up the pieces and putting them in a pile.
A few minutes goes by, and you hear like a jingling, rattling coming down the hallway. The door was left open. And you hear like a smallish voice. Excuse me?
She turns and looks.
I have a tray. And there's a girl, she's maybe 15 years old, and she is holding a platter on which there is a wedge of bread, some utensils, a cup, a small corked bottle of red liquid, you assume to be wine, and a bowl of some kind of soup.
She looks at the crap table. Thank you. And she'll walk over and to take the tray. Thank you. And you can tell the tavern master. I'll reimburse him for this.
Okay. I will let him know. And she gives you the tray, and you see her kind of scurry a little bit down the hall. There is
Into a crevasse.
there is into a crevasse. There is a level of everyone heard you smashing things. There's a small level of fear, and you see her duck around the corner back into the main area, leaving you alone with a tray of food, possibly the first food you've had in maybe a day or so.
Yeah, smells good.
It is a hot bowl of tavern chili, a wedge of bread, and some red wine. You're able to make some semblance of the mess in the room you made.
Yeah, she sits at the windowsill, like puts out the windowsill and just stands there looking out the window with the sunlight on her face.
Okay. You enjoy your meal. You enjoy the silence of your room. What do you do next after you've had some quiet contemplation?
Man, I don't know. She said go talk to the boys. So she has no idea what time of day it is, other than it's like daytime. So she's probably gonna clean herself up first and maybe change her clothes. And then she's gonna head towards the library.
Okay. Easy enough. You make your way through the city. Again, the city is fairly tense. You make your way to the library, and Corex is not in the front of the library, but he basically lives here, so it's only a matter of time before you find him. This will be after you have had a meeting with Mina, Corex. So how does Antares find you?
I think he's very scratchy, but he's got a few books around him, as is pretty normal, and just notes, bits of paper. The replaying the scene about his family dying is not one he's enjoying, but he's been replaying that scene that Mina gave him over and over, and just making sure that he's got every single word written down, and he's going through books trying to figure out if he can piece anything together.
So that's how you find him, Antares. He is in the probably towards the back of the library. He seems very pensive, deep in thought.
Okay. Yeah, she looks around, doesn't see anyone else, and she casually makes her way over and just stops at the table.
Hey.
Hey.
You okay?
Sure. Oh, this? Yeah, that's nothing. Just letting off a little bit of steam, like Antares does. Ha ha ha. And she will pull out a chair like really loudly, and then sit down.
There's less painful ways to do that. So.
Maybe one day you can show me.
Down on a roof and scream.
Maybe.
Whatever works for you.
So how are you doing? Haven't seen
better. Mina didn't hit me, so that's good.
Why would he hit you?
Well, I kind of was the one that told Wexy, and she did go running to Mina.
Well,
that wasn't the intention, but
well, it was the intention.
No.
Honestly, but it wasn't. She shifts in her chair. What wasn't the intention was what Rhea did. And quite honestly,
Storms-
if Wexley had found out that something had happened to Mina and she wasn't there, I wouldn't want to be in that room. And she kind of leans back a little bit.
Storms are unpredictable.
Sorry, what is?
Storms.
Storms. She clears her throat.
He's the god of them, after all.
Oh, Rhea is? You...
Mm-hmm.
Well, that makes some kind of ridiculous sense, I guess. How is Mina?
Seemed alright. Confused, and he gestures to the papers that are around him. Yes, I've been replaying his memory of his conversation with Rhea. Trying to understand what she meant when she was talking to him.
Hmm.
Something's not right with what she said and how she said it, but he's confused and he's asked me to look into it. So, other than that, he seemed alright.
Hmm. Well, she said
He's been at the war councils as well, so maybe that's helped keep him distracted.
Was my absence noted?
Yeah. Like it or not, you're part of the council.
Yeah. I just... It might come as a surprise to you, or maybe it won't, that I'm not good at regulating my emotions.
Well, I can't blame you.
And
Rip with a great mom.
she definitely had a way of doing things. But every time I think about what happened, and you can see her tense a little bit, I just get very angry. I've just been taking it out on my room and other people. Legally. Well, not legally, but consensually. Don't worry. I'm not actually going around trying to beat people up all willy-nilly.
Not on the streets, it's fine. Just don't damage what's here.
You could do a lot of damage to somebody with a book. Just saying. If you ever want to get creative.
I'll let you do the punching.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to turn over a new leaf, as it were. So, I'm sorry I haven't been around.
Not a problem. I mean, I've been avoiding Mina for a while as well. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to face him, which is pretty selfish now that I kind of think about it, but...
I mean, you didn't do anything wrong. Like the vision that Korax has been watching, and Terry's was there, correct? In the background.
And
Did Mina ever see her?
in that moment, I would have been up.
Yeah, yeah. She was there, so there's like a watery gray periphery image. But I think Mina was focused on Rhea. So with the rain, the torrent of rain, the lightning, and the positioning of Mina being in the crater essentially, and Terry's being above it, she's there. And Mina, you sense in the film basically, you sense everything. So you know that Mina knows and Terry's there. While you're watching it, you have the feeling that he knows that, but there's no interaction, and you can't like turn your head and see more.
Yep. I mean, you were at least there for him when he was facing her, Rhea. That is.
Yeah, well, I made a promise to him, and whether he liked it or not, and I tried to stop her, but it just wasn't enough.
Well, I'm pretty sure you're going to get another chance.
Her face hardens a little bit. I'm counting on it.
I'm sure he'd appreciate a visit.
She chose to hurt him. She felt slighted by him, and she could have killed him. She could have injured him more. She could have taken it out on all of her rage. She could have taken it out on him, but she didn't. Well, I guess technically she did. She just did it in a roundabout way.
What hurts him more? Killing him?
Exactly. I may have done some shitty things, but I've never done anything like that.
He blames him for everything. And he'll flick around a piece of paper with her words where she's ranting. He blames him for a lot.
I heard some of that. But whatever she believes, whatever she was told, she chose to hurt him. And now all bets are off for me. Just letting you know.
Feel free. I will let you do that.
Maybe that's why I can't face him right now.
It's going to be hard, but like I say, I'm sure he'd appreciate it. And he looks around. I think everyone's been avoiding him. Friendly face would help.
Yeah. You're saying I should go see him? She pushes the chair back. Guess.
As she's walking towards the door, he just looks up and says, "Don't tell him I sent you."
Do you think he's mad at you?
No. It would probably mean more if you made that decision on your own, whether you did or didn't.
Right. And she
Miles
turns and walks out.
You push open the heavy door of the library. And the door was the only thing holding back a torrent of sound, loud enough that it travels back to the area of the library that Corex is sitting in. Though distant and far quieter. It is still a noise that travels. And Terry's, you open the door, and there are soldiers running to and fro in the castle. You see there is a lot of movement here. You see the back of one of the generals that you recall from the last council meeting walking into the council chamber. You see a squad of 5 soldiers are running out into the city, seemingly with purpose grouped together. There's more that are moving back and forth. The castle is in a state of renewed chaos as you open the door into the main foyer.
As in something is going on in this moment type of chaos? Or?
You would think so, yeah.
Okay. Who does she see?
A bunch of soldiers, most of the like the maid staff or the castellans and butlers are gone. You see the main hall, the great hall, is full of troops moving.
Yeah, so she'll go over. She'll approach a group of soldiers and call out to one of the ranking officers and go, "You, what's going on?"
Oh, you see him kind of square himself up, and he places a hand across his chest, kind of in a salute. He says, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, Seydlitz, the other general. He has returned. There's troops en masse where, and you hear bong 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 like bells start to ring. We're rallying everyone. We were actually coming to find you." And he motions, and you see 4 more soldiers barrel into the library, assumingly looking for Korax, as they continue to move. Emergency council meeting.
All right, then, let's go. And she will stride that way.
Seconds pass. Korax, you 4 soldiers start calling your name. The silence of the library is destroyed as 4 armored soldiers are actively looking for you. You can hear them calling you immediately.
They just start pushing chairs.
He just looks up at them. What?
It's an emergency council meeting. Seydlitz has returned with news.
He gathers all the papers that he had of his notes. He sticks them in a weird binder and jams them into one of the shelves in the library, and just books it towards the council room.
Okay, we cut across town to the barracks of Wexijund and her associated caravan guards. 5 bang on the door. The door is opened by one of the spear-wielding caravan guards. She pulls the door open, sees these 5 soldiers, turns back and walks back to the office and knocks on the door. Sir, Mina, sir.
Yes, enter.
She opens the door and looks at you and says, there is an emergency council meeting. There are guards outside. They've been summoned. You have been summoned.
Of course. And Mina grabs his spear and shield and heads for the door where the guards are.
Is there anything you need taken care of in your absence?
He looks at her and says, come with me. And he heads to the door and says to the guards, report.
Sir, Seydlitz has returned from a hunt several days later than the rest of the guildmates. He brings news of Jathith's army. He is approaching. Less than a day out, I believe. The Queen has convened an emergency meeting.
Understood. And Mina looks back at his guard and says, gather everyone, prepare for battle. And
Understood,
he follows
sir.
the guards out.
And she immediately starts to go get the rest of the guards ready. We cut back minutes later as Mina hustles across the city and is the last person into the chamber. You see all of the assembled generals around a table. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you guys. What is that? 7, 9, 11? 11? That seems like math. There are 12 chairs around the table. The queen sits at the high seat. The rest of you have your individual seats, and of course, one seat, sadly, as if to twist the knife, sits empty. Mina, you are the last one to arrive. Seydlitz is already there. Korax and Terry's are already there. Paolo, Barbera, Kieran, Kieran Anderley, Sinwise Rider, Captain Faxis is there, and Captain Darian Hargans of the Reconciliators is also there. And the Queen just motions you to sit. And she says, now that the council has assembled, please, Seydlitz, inform everyone of what you saw.
As everybody seems to be here, we're no longer in a panic, I hope. Well, I was out in the Mystic Forest, as I think some would call it. On my return trip, I saw an army marching through the woods towards Samora of a variety of denizens of Christsurge.
And you see on the table is a map, and she looks and says, please, indicate where you were exactly.
Seydlitz points at the map and kind of does a little sort of, this is the general area.
And how far advanced were you? Do you think how much time until they arrive?
I couldn't say. I left them a bit of chaos as I left.
Understood. You were on foot?
I was.
Okay, well they...
But I move a lot faster in those woods than a whole army of men would.
Unfortunately, they don't tire. So what time they would have made up? Okay. We need to prepare. Faxis, she points to the general. Get the city guard ready. I want all walls mounted. I want 10-hour shifts consecutively around the clock. Spears at the ready. The Red Serenity will mark the north gate. The High Shroud will mark the east gate. The Jackals will mark the west gate. Mina, I have been informed that you have taken over the Junt caravan. Spears at the ready, reinforce the city guard. No one mounts this wall. Is that understood?
Understood.
The four of you, where do we stand? Are you ready?
And Terry's nods.
I take it as ready as I'll ever be. Unfortunately, there's not much more time to prepare even more.
I've done my part.
Mina looks at Corax and goes, is that ready, or just ready?
How are those frequent headaches of yours, Corax?
No more new ones, so that's a good sign. And he looks to his stacks of bits and bobs that he's collected and the
war
information that he's gathered. Yes.
That's a bit disappointing.
Well, you did have one a couple days ago.
But... Oh, sorry. Yes, there was a new one. A couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Would he have gathered who that was? Would he have gathered that it was the god of the hunt?
No, you have not learned who any of them were until you met them, until you encountered them. But now having encountered Seydlitz, it could be. You can roll for it if you'd like.
Oh, I'd like to roll for that, Mike.
Yeah, hell yeah. Roll me a difficulty 5. Knowledge of godly beings, which is probably like a 0 for you.
Difficulty 5. I'm not using the efforts.
17 divine shifts, 4 skills.
I need to change that to a difficulty 4 because I can't put enough assets. Success.
Hell yeah. Yeah, you recall he asked you the question, and it's almost like a leading question. But the kerfuffle of what's going on is sort of the distraction. And then you like look at him and you realize, and the like unknown. It's like when someone writes in chalk and then erases it. You can still see the chalk sort of left over there. It's kind of rewritten, and you know that you are looking at the god of the hunt.
Seydlitz has a smirk on his face.
Korax looks at him, sees the smirk, and smiles. That's good. That's good. I think we're readier than we were. Apart from the obvious, he looks at Seydlitz. Apart from the obvious, no other ascensions seem to have happened.
The queen seems to miss the subtlety of the response, and she looks across the table to the most outlier of people here, and she says, "Captain Hargens, where do we stand with the remainder of the reconciliators left in the city?" He stands, hand on the hilt of his sword, and says, "Ma'am, outside of my contingent of, we are now 20. There are still 50 other reconciliators here. I believe that half of them may refuse the fight. The other half are staunchly entrenched with the dragon. If things look like they are turning, or frankly, if they look like they're not turning, they may force our hand. I would... Any spare troops that we have, I will of course send mine, but even if the odds were fair, reconciliator for reconciliator, it would be a hard-fought battle. And inside the city, the civilian casualties would be considerable. If we can do our best to clear the streets, and any additional forces you may have would aid in the pacification of the misguided." She looks to him and says, "Each of you," and she looks to the three like mercenary guilds essentially, and then hesitates for a second and sort of remembers to look to Mina as well. Each of you will please send a squad with Captain Hargens to assist in the pacification of the reconciliators and the peaceful absconsion of the citizens. So we don't want any casualties if we can avoid them. Understood?" You see Paolo, Kieran, and Sinwise all nod their head. "You have your orders. Our coffers are stocked as best we can. The biggest challenge here is if this is a siege, the majority of the denizens of Christchurch, they don't need food, water, air. Most don't need sleep on a given day. They can outlast us. They can outlive us. If they circle the city, that could be it. We cannot let that happen. Is that understood?" And she looks to everyone at the table.
Yep, and Terry just nods.
"Then you have your roles to play. You have your orders. Dismissed."
She gets up.
The other guards get up. They all begin to move about wherever they were supposed to be going. They all head back to their respective mercenary barracks. They all head back to the city guard barracks, and you see Hargens disappears to wherever the reconciliators bed down across the city, sort of leaving the four of you as the queen trails off out of this room towards like the throne room and her other chambers.
Terry's glances over to where Mina is.
Mina just looks at everyone and says, "I have to get back to the guard company. Apparently I'm in charge." And he kind of turns and wanders off.
Mina, wait.
Yeah.
We'll talk after, okay?
Yeah, you know where to find me. I'm currently bunking in Wexy's quarters.
Right. There's no time right now.
Understood. And Mina turns and heads off.
Honestly, I'm surprised the enemy got to us so fast.
Well, they're not here yet. And she's gonna turn to Korax, reach into her a pouch and pull out the Sword of the Gods, which is a cipher. Can you tell me what this does?
It stabs people.
It's
He looks at it.
It's a cipher. I can't. You know what these do. You're the god of knowledge. Knowledge it up,
He laughs.
please.
He takes the sword. And Mike, I would like to try and understand the sword. Sword
Me
of the
too,
gods.
man.
It's called.
Me too, man. I would love to find out where I wrote that down. It's going to be a roll of some kind. I just have to figure out where I wrote it down. The Sword of the Gods? Is that what I gave you?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
It is a level 8 cipher.
Great. That makes it easier. It is a level 8 difficulty.
Knowledge of godly beings, Mike.
I'll allow that.
Got God in the name, right?
It does have God in the name. You got me there.
Difficulty 8. So this is going to be an intellect. So break it down to a 5 with my divine shifts. Eager to learn. Would that come into?
I'll allow it. I'll allow that bullshit.
Roll. An asset for eager to learn. I think that's everything. Mike, can I spend an XP to reroll that?
You can spend an XP. That was a
Thanks,
sad,
Mike.
That was a sad roll. That was a bad time for you.
I don't want to fail on these simple tasks. Roll. There we go. Success.
There it is. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm making you a nice little document so that you can read all about it. Boop, boop,
Sweet.
boop, 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 boop.
And she kind of just paces back and forth, like 1 step, 2 step, like her eyes are on him, waiting to see what he has to say.
Perfect. So I will put this in both of your journals here, since you have this thing. A user with 1 or more divine shifts, which means not you and Terry's, who manifests their nimbus, thus rendering it visible to creatures that normally cannot see it, gain an additional effect for up to 1 hour. While this manifestation is active, the user's nimbus takes on the form of a glowing weapon the user is practiced in using. The difficulty of attacks made with that weapon is reduced by 2 steps. The weapon inflicts normal damage, plus a number of additional points equal to the number of divine shifts the user possesses. It's basically spiritual weapon from Dungeons & Dragons. Your nimbus becomes a weapon, and you, pull it out and can wield that with bonus damage.
Okay. Sweet.
Korax, as he learns that, just looks across the table at Antares. Right. It kind of need to get your shit together first. But
Get it all together.
Great. And she takes it back, thanks, and puts it back in her bag.
and he explains to her roughly what it's going to do.
Okay. Perfect. Where are you all going? So Mina left. I just want to know where everyone's going to be going.
So Korax, Seydlitz starts gesturing at the map on the table. With all your knowledge, I assume you can pick up something about battle history. Where do you think we stand in this?
Which battle would you like to know about? And he gestures to a pile of books of previous battles on the city.
Well, with all the knowledge you've gathered, where do you think we will stand? Do you think we even stand a chance? With 3 gods, a powerful godling, and a godling with a very nice sword?
I mean, in all the attacks on the city before, there hasn't been 3 gods attacking it, and there hasn't been 3-ish gods defending it.
What are you going to be doing during all this, Korax? Do you think you're just going to be sitting in your library, twiddling your thumbs?
I would like to.
She gives him a really hard stare.
I don't think the queen would be appreciative of that.
What
Queen
kind of
knows
god
better
are
than to make
you-
me fight people.
Yeah, what kind of god are you going to be, Korax? And her demeanor kind of changes, and she's...
Well, I just gave someone very good information about a really cool sword that they're hopefully going to use to win a war.
Also, riddle me this. How long was I gone?
5 days.
I've been hiding, Nina, but it's a good few days.
I haven't
Perfect.
seen you since the memorial, so use that as your... it's been X days since the memorial, so...
It feels like it has been 2 days, Seydlitz. You took like most of the day to get out there, and then most of the day to get back. So like a little bit more than like 6 hours to get out there, 6 hours back, and then the amount of time you were there. For you, you leaving was just like a day and a half ago, 2 days ago.
Seydlitz is making a mental note of the time-distorting properties of the deep forest.
That is fair.
Korax looks to Seydlitz and says, well, time was well spent, I see.
Not as much as you think.
Better than you were when you left. See, you accepted your fate.
I say, that is right. And if you excuse me, I'm gonna go see my family before the battle begins.
Okay.
Seydlitz does like a kind of a 180 about face, a little too rigid, and walks out the door.
Okay. We see Seydlitz head home. Korax, are you headed to what makes for your home?
Mike, I want to offer you an XP for an item.
Ooh.
I would like for Korax to have found in all of his trawling of the library a map of the hidden passages within the palace.
I'll take an XP
Offer
for
you
that.
an XP.
I'll take an XP for that.
Perfect.
Spend that, you can have that.
That is the first time since the beginning of this game that Korax now has no XP.
Wow.
Wow.
If Anteri says nothing else to him, Korax is going looking for Sephany.
Okay. You disappear into the corridors of the castle. Antares, where are you headed?
I don't know.
Well, figure it out. Get your shit together.
Apparently. Yeah, I don't know.
In that case, we leave Antares hanging in the central courtyard of the castle, and we'll follow Korax for a minute here. Korax, you wend your way through corridors and hallways looking for Stephanie. It is not difficult to find the staff. You've been basically living out of the library, living in the castle. So you quickly find the staff quarters and easily ask where she is and are pointed in her direction. You find her in the waitstaff's kitchen.
I mean, Korax might have got her name wrong when he asked for her. Because, this is for you. And he pulls out the map and he hands it to her. If and when things get really bad, your only thing to do is use this and get Arua out.
Do you think things will get that bad?
We don't know, but it's a risk I'd rather not take. Too many people are after her, and too many people can do terrible things if they train her wrong. I spent a lot of time with her, but don't worry about that. She can be easily convinced to do the wrong thing. She's still innocent. She shouldn't have to.
Is there somewhere we should go that you can find us when it's safe?
He opens up the map, this map of tunnels, and he finds a spot that's sort of central, but out of the way within the palace still. And he says, hide there. And he looks down at the map and says, I'll probably find my way there. If things get bad, go there. If the city falls, run.
Understood. I will be with her from the moment everything starts. All I can say is thank you, all of you. Please let the others know if I don't see you. Let the others know I appreciate everything. None of you had to do any of this from the beginning.
We did. It was the right thing to do.
And she sort of like gets up and like gives you a hug, which I assume is awkward for Korax, and like gives you like a peck on the cheekbone. She says, I really do. I appreciate everything that you've done. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for you.
I'll let the others know, but Arua's learned a lot about how to control what she can do. He might not know when to do whatever she has to protect the pair of you. He's going to look to you for guidance. So if you need her to do something with her powers, you tell her what to do.
I think I understand.
It'll make sense in the time, if it happens.
Okay. I think I understand. Thank you. And she rolls up the map. We cut back to Antares on the stairs of the castle. Things seem to be... It's like a music video. Everything around you is fast, right? Troops are moving, people are moving, supplies are going. You see people, like civilians are going to their houses. You see, the ladders up getting pulled up. You see soldiers marching upstairs, mercenaries moving around the city. But you are like slowly walking, right? As that like everything around you is in fast forward mode, kind of. And there's something about this moment that like is a level of familiarity, right? Like going into battle is different than going into combat. And going into battle is something that Antares is used to, or at least being the aggressor, and like the tension and like the fury and fire in the air is something that you're accustomed to. unlike many people. And there's that familiar, almost like a home cooked meal, right? That feeling of like, oh, this is nice. It's like a nice blanket of familiarity. But there's something nagging at the back of your mind that something is wrong. Whether it's the fact that this feeling is comfortable, whether it's that you've never been on this side of the feeling, or if something is actually wrong in the outside, but whether it's something that happened in the council room, something that someone said, your own internal mixed emotions, something feels wrong. You normally feel like pumped up, the adrenaline's high, your blood starts pumping for this battle. And that's not what's happening. You feel all the common markers of that's what should be happening, but it's not happening for you, and you feel off. What are you doing as you hit the last step down out of the castle?
I think she kind of she stops, and she looks across the city, sitting with this feeling in her gut. She turns and looks. She's gonna look across the city. Does anything catch her eye? She's been standing on rooftops and looking out as like one of her side hobbies, really.
Yeah, as Lady Batman. Roll me a difficulty. Call it difficulty 5. Difficulty 5 perception check. So intellect, and if you have any other perception-based skills.
Sense ambush.
I'll take that.
Okay. Difficulty 5. I'll just spend 1 effort.
Okay.
And 1 asset. Where? Hello? Go back.
Would you like to re-roll?
Well, I guess I better.
I mean, I'm not forcing you to. I'm just giving you the option here.
I really don't want to spend an XP on it.
Okay, don't. You look out at the city. Usually you're used to looking at it from over, right? You try to find a high building to look down at the city. You are now looking at it from below, right? This further adds to that like strangeness of the moment. And you hear a familiar voice that sort of cuts through the din of sound all around you. You feel that? About 5 feet behind you to your right-hand side is Orion.
What are you doing here?
I'm in the city. I just saw you like an hour ago. Do you feel that?
Feel what? The weird feeling of doom in my stomach?
Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't everything feel like, I don't know, muted?
Yeah. What is it? What do I do? And she walks up to him.
I have no idea. I just, there's something, like everything seems, I know things are dire, but everything seems dark. And as he says that, you look around the city and everything seems darker. It is what we would think of as sunglasses. That everything has a tint to it. As if somebody is slowly pulling shadows across the city.
As soon as he said it looks darker, she's like, oh shit.
you look around the city, and there is no way for you to miss this. You first hear horns, distant but expected horns, assumingly to be Jaseth's army. You then see a bright explosion in the sky. Your first instinct is that Rhea has returned. However, there is no rain, there is no lightning to accompany this loud burst of sound, and you see this like dark purple mass, like just like a small sun. And then you see it start to swirl and form this like weird smoky mass, and it begins to like spiral out, as if like swirling like a cloud, like almost like a tornado. But you realize it's not spinning down like any sort of windstorm you've ever seen, like any kind of dust devil or anything of the kind. It begins to swirl and swoop, and you can see that this is a magical smoke something that is taking the form of a long, serpentine, winged creature that is circling the city.
Like it's huge. Like it's
like it is huge. It is circling the city overhead. It doesn't seem to be attacking or anything like that. It perhaps is some sort of symbol. And as you click that into your mind that this may be some sort of symbol, the sound rushes back in after the explosion. And much like that night, there are screams across the city. You see fires light on the walls by the guards, one would assume. There are warning beacons across the city that light up, and there are screams. You see a reconciliator run across your line of sight, grab someone, and then run them through with their blade. Pull it out, the body drops to the side. You see several more of them are moving. Whatever this was a sign to attack. The reconciliators who have not been swayed by Captain Hargens are currently wreaking havoc on the city. You are the only one out here. What do you do?
There's no other soldiers around?
There are soldiers, but you are the only character. There are soldiers milling about.
Yeah, she's just yelling, sound the alarm, get to your posts. She does all that. They're here. The reconciliators are attacking. And she's going to turn to Orion.
You've seen reconciliators fight civilians. It looked like that. The guards only hold up slightly better.
She runs
into the city or towards one of the reconciliators.
Are they kind of like, are they on their own or are they kind of like in groups?
They are both. They are in small groups of like 3 to 5, but they are far enough apart where you're not going to run into 3 of them. There's just one here, probably another one like 10 or 15 feet away. They're all within vocal distance so that if you attack one of them, the other ones will know it shortly thereafter.
Yeah, she sees them attacking and she sees them killing random people. And as the other guards run off and sound the alarm and do what they're trained to do, she turns her back on Orion and she like growls almost, and she draws her sword and she runs up to them or runs towards them. And then when she's close enough, she shouts like, reconciliators, in the same tone that she would have taken if she was commanding a group of them from before.
There is a moment of confusion as you bellow out this command. Several of them stop. Several of the ones that can hear you stop and sort of look to you as if confused who would like attempt to command this. And then there is a moment pause followed by recognition of who you are, and that you are one of the most wanted people in the Afterworld.
Yeah. And her intention is to draw them away from killing the innocent people. So when she calls them, and they all turn and look at her, she stands there in like her battle ready position, and then a red light flickers above her head and her nimbus appears. And
you hear, as soon as it like flickers into place, all of them, "Slay the false god! Slay the false god!" And you can hear this coming from multiple, like the 5 that you can see, and then streets over, you hear more of them. You've got the attention of several of these people.
Yeah.
So one of them drops the body he was holding. Are you leading them on a merry chase? What are you have got their attention? You know that the guards are currently working with Hargans, 1, to stop this, but 2, to try to get as many civilians out of here as possible. That is clearly not happening at this moment. It was definitely much sooner than they expected.
She's hoping that this distraction will allow them to start doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
They're not
like you see the guards doing like they're doing their best. There you are at the front of the you're at like the front courtyard of the castle, right? So there is a bit of space here, but you do see guards in the distance hurrying and moving people away, trying to isolate this area, especially. Roll me. Nah, I'm gonna just do this for myself. I'm gonna give you a piece of information here, G, at the cost of one of my corruption bars, just because I want this.
Okay. You
know where the safest place to bring any number of reconciliators would be. Where would the least casualties would be? The crater in the center of the city.
Interesting. Yeah, so she like hops up on like a stone like fountain, so she's above them a little bit, and her nimbus flickers and it glows red above her head, and she smirks at them. It's like, "What, you've missed me?"
The 3 that, the 5 that you can see, they immediately charge towards you. Get her! Get her!
Looks like it. Come fight someone real. And she just runs.
Slay the unfavored! Slay the unfavored! As they charge towards you. Are you running? Fighting?
Yeah.
Okay. Where are you headed?
She's going to head towards the crater.
Okay. You lead these Knights of Reconciliation on a merry chase through Samora. The shouting, both from you to antagonize and them, continues. And every time you glance back, there is one more. It is as though you are collecting these as you make your way to the crater. Roll me a difficulty for perception. You can use ambush as well.
Sorry, intellect, you said?
Yeah.
Difficulty 4. I'm not spending any effort this time. 1 asset. Good. Reconciliators information help at all?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Why not?
Success.
It is not nighttime. It is as dark as nighttime.
Yeah.
As you run through, it's like every step, it gets darker and darker and darker, and the shade pulls closer and closer and closer, as if perhaps magically manifested.
Yeah.
the blood pumps in your ears as these shouts from the reconciliators drones on behind you as you make your way to this crumbling crater. There are still buildings that are dilapidated near this where lightning struck. There are still the reconstruction process still is still undergoing. And you can hear the shouts, less so screams, but shouts in the distance as you draw these knights towards this crater. You have your you get to the crater. You have your back to the crater. As you turn to face these, there are at least a dozen Knights of Reconciliation here, and you are alone.
Yeah, I'm alone. Yeah, so she'll stop and turn around. It's like, fellas, aren't we going to talk about this first?
You see, they're nondescript. They'll have like face plates on. He says, "You are wanted on behalf of the dragon Nulumriel. Surrender now, or we will bring your corpse in cold."
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Sorry, I'm not going back there, and you can join me. How about that? Because if you don't join me, I'm just going to have to kill all of you. And her nimbus flickers even brighter.
I want to have you roll intimidation, but it's 12-1. They are drastically bolstered by their numbers. Roll me intimidation, but it's difficulty 7.
But I'm bold.
That's true. You are bold.
Intellect again?
If you want to argue for might,
I'd love to argue for might.
Physically intimidating. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because she used to be the favored of Nulumriel.
Yeah.
She commanded respect.
At one point.
At one point, yeah.
She was their boss at one point, wasn't she?
More or less.
Almost.
More or less.
More or less, yeah.
Difficulty.
Let's go. Success.
That is a success. Okay. You are in a stalemate. No one here is advancing on you. You can tell that there is a strange, like, they know how strong you were as one of the favored. And now they see a symbol of a false god, and they don't know if you are stronger. So no one is advancing on you. You are absolutely surrounded. You have your back to a bowl, and they have horseshoed around you. But no one is attacking you in this moment.
And she steps onto a piece of rubble just so she's a little higher, and she says to them, "You know who I am and who I was. Nulumriel lied to me, and she lied to you. A false god, and her nimbus flickers. She knew what I was this whole time. She knows that I'm a god, and yet she kept me. She lied to me, and she lied to you. Join me. We can make our own destinies, fight our own battles. We're not going to be under her thumb anymore."
Roll me a difficulty 7 might defense roll.
Might defense. Oh. I don't have that. I'm not trained in might defense.
That's okay. So then it would just be a difficulty 7 might roll.
Yeah. Is this an ambush?
Yeah. You are being ambushed.
Because I cannot be ambushed. I am never surprised by an attack. That's what sense ambush does.
Okay.
I'll roll.
Yeah, you're still going to have to roll. You are not being physically attacked. Something is happening that you cannot see.
Okay. Reconciliator, and I can use my sense ambush. Not my reconciliator.
No reconciliator.
Okay.
But you can use sense ambush.
I can use sense ambush.
Yep, I'll let you use that.
Right. Okay. Success.
Perfect. You call this out, and it is perhaps just because you got yourself on a little bit of rubble and you are slightly higher.
$1.
You get this out in this commanding, follow me, there were lies, right? And then it ends in a far less intimidating cough you had no control over. And then another cough. And
me?
You see, yeah,
I'm coughing?
You are coughing. You see several of the reconciliators look to you and take a step back. And at first it's kind of like a, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm queen shit on top of my little hill. And then another uncontrollable cough. And your lungs burn like acid. You'll take 2 points of speed damage. And you look down, and there is a roiling green cloud that is coming up against gravity out of the crater. It is now up to the bottom of your feet on top of this little rubble hill that you were sat on, or you were standing on.
Shit.
There is some kind of poison gas at your feet.
Can she get away from it? Is there a spot to get away?
It is moving towards the reconciliators, but you can see that it is moving from behind you. Like you can see it creeping towards them. If you can outrun it, but you'd be running straight towards the horseshoe of reconciliators.
Yeah, she's going to make another plea to them.
They take another couple steps back.
Yeah, she moves towards them and she's like, please, my brothers, as she's trying to not cough.
Please, my brothers is...
Yeah, please, my brothers. This is not what we do.
That is the words you get out before you are cut off. You say, please, my brothers, and then there is a hollow, mirthless laugh. Brothers? Are you fucking kidding me? And you see the fog cloud around you thickens and extends further towards the reconciliators, blowing against the wind. You little entitled shit. You were a fucking accident. You were a mistake. Who do you think you are? And you recognize that voice immediately. Cuts right to the bone. That is your sister.
Yeah, she turns and looks. I was the favorite one, Eltanen. Huh. I know you've been jealous, but...
You were the favored shit in the bowl.
Weren't we all? Looking back now?
Fed yourself so many lies. You were the runt of the litter. You were the weakest among us. Look at you.
That's not what Mother used to say.
You're a fucking joke.
Not as much as a joke as your new paramour. I guess you just missed me a little too much.
Missed you with my blade.
We'll see.
Mother doesn't want you back. You're not going to be welcomed back into the fold.
Good.
You'll be drawn and quartered in the high square in Corso, an example to be made of what weakness looks like.
Yeah, well. Maybe she'll be the one who meets this fate, if I have anything to say about it. And her nimbus flickers some more.
She looks up. You see her eyes go up towards your nimbus, and you recognize that she sees it and what that means. She goes, you can barely sputter together a spark of divinity. And she drops her hands to the side, and you see that from what looks like her palms, almost like stigmata, this fog is flowing from her, and this bright green nimbus flickers above her head, bright enough that it like almost dwarfs the red of yours. And she says, even still, you're the weakest among us. You have no hope here. Even without their assistance. And she like moves, and again, it's like a gas pump. This thing is just waving fog. Even without them, I can easily best you. Even without this, and she motions to like herself, I can easily best you. You stand no chance here. Stop this farce. Surrender and die with what shreds of honor you have left.
If I die, you're coming with me. I've had enough of this. Nolumriel, whatever we had, that's what the joke was. Our whole lives have been a joke, and I'm done with it. I'm going to make something of my life, and it's going to matter. And you're not going to be a part of it. You know that?
I sincerely hope you enjoy the last few seconds of this life you've made for yourself.
She charges at her.
Absolutely. You run down into the crater. And we cut. We cut to Mina at the Jund Caravan Guard. You look outside the windows. It is impossibly dark. You know that it was nearing dinner time. The parade hadn't even happened yet. Well, it hasn't happened in a couple days, but it's not even time for the parade. But it is pitch dark outside. It is darker than it has any reason to be. Mina, you have assembled your guards. You have sent a squad of them to assist with Captain Harrigan's reconciliators. What are you doing in this moment, Mina?
Mina's looking for the most immediate threat. He was told that he is to fill in any weaknesses. So he is just readying his troops, and the first sign of a threat, whether on the walls or within, he is going to send them all towards that.
You exit into the training yard with some of the captains of the guard caravan, and you immediately notice this darkness. And at first you're like, okay, maybe I just lost track of time. And then as you look for signs of weakness, you see the signal fires and the braziers lit along the walls. But as you look out beyond the lights of the fires, there are no stars. This is not a natural darkness. Something has been cast over the city. The only thing you see up there besides this black is this roiling purple dragon of smoke just sort of swirling about the city. And then you begin to hear those same screams of the people dying en masse in here. It seems as though the Knights of Reconciliation are attacking.
Mina will instruct the squads to defend the civilians, and he will head towards the closest reconciliator that's nearby.
Okay. You start to run towards this, and you hear shouting, not screaming, shouting, coming from towards the center of the city. You hear, kill the false god, slay the unfavored, and you hear this like sort of ringing through the city. False god, unfavored, you're not entirely sure who that is, but perhaps might be a friend of yours.
Yeah, it could be his friend Poseidon. He'll head towards all that shouting.
Okay. You head towards the center of the city. Seydlitz, you have just made it home. Your family is there. They haven't seen you in days. There was some worry and concern. The kids have been up late waiting for Uncle Seydlitz to return home. The night has fallen on the city. It is dark. And you are drawn back to the last nice memory you have in the house of a nice dinner with friends you never thought you'd make, and your mother telling stories you wish she wouldn't. And then you hear those same screams, similar to that night, as you are in the house with your family. What are you doing, Seydlitz?
Seydlitz is probably talking with Selena real quick. Basically, the extension of the time has come, so I must go.
She looks to you and she says, "We've done everything we can. We're gonna leave in the morning, and we'll go to the holdfast. We just wanted to make sure you were home safe. Is everything okay out there?"
I don't think so. And Seydlitz gives Selena a hug and basically after that he goes to the door and leaves with the parting words of, "I'll try to make sure you all have a home to come back to."
There is a camera shot over your shoulder of Selena with the kids around her, and there's a look of sadness as Uncle Seydlitz goes off to war. The door closes behind you, and you can see as you are in the more residential block of this area that people are running from all over the place towards homes. There are guards sort of moving people. You see 5 Knights of Reconciliation are charging away from you guys, or away from you, towards the center of the city. It seems as though
as he leaves the door, he's turned his Nimbus on for all to see.
Perfect. Yeah. A glowing, bright moon with a wolf and a fox on it. Silver light kind of blazes out. People like stop and move as you make this visible to everyone. The knights, you see the 5 knights are running, and you see 2 of them turn back towards you, as if they have some sort of innate sense when that kind of things are around. And you hear the lead one look. You see the lead one look back and says, "No, this way!" And he begins to charge towards the center of the city. Where do you go to assist people?
If those are those his knights, or like are those friendly knights? Or...
There is no way to tell. They all wear the same armor. They all look the same. They're not killing people, so
I guess it's assumed.
Could be. Do you follow them, or do you head somewhere else?
If the center of the city is where the action is, that's where Seydlitz is going.
Okay. You begin to run towards the center of the city. Korax, you hear a continued... Actually, you come out from the hallways going back towards the safety of your library, where you said you would prefer to stay when the whole war broke out. You see a renewed vigor in the castle of people running around, and you can see out of the open archway of the castle that the night has fallen. Far too early for your recollection, and you see something moving in the sky. What are you doing?
Korax, as he runs, he's looking for a tower of some description. I know this palace isn't that large, but he's looking for the highest point within this palace. And as he runs, he grabs the attention of a couple, not necessarily servants, but like guards, or someone that he can tell what to do. And he brings them to that high point. And he looks over the city to see what's going on.
Okay. Yeah, you grab 2 palace guards. They're not as well equipped as, like the city guards. you run up to what makes for basically a small astronomy tower, right? And you make your way out into what seems to be the night air. The first thing you notice immediately is that there are no stars in the sky. And then you see this great purple serpentine dragon circling the city overhead. Not attacking, circling the city. Lights, fires all along the walls. You see signal fires trying to regain some semblance of light in the city. As there are no stars, no sun, no moonlight to add this, and you hear the screams in the city from civilians. You hear shouts from people directing guards and military and mercenaries. You see chaos in the city.
Does he see any of the reconciliators doing what they normally do?
Doing what they normally do, or
Killing innocent people.
Okay, because most of the ones here are normally just sort of aggressive shows of force. You do see there are reconciliators killing what looks to be innocent people. You assume,
right? Yeah, Korax is going to send the two people that are with him. The first one, he looks at him and says, "The Temple of the Shaden, get there now. Warn him that his city is under attack. Go." And he looks to the other one. I'm trying to remember the name of I want to say not captain of the guard, but the reconciliator.
Captain Darian
guy
Harkins.
Yeah, where was he told in the War Council that he was going to be?
He was told that he would be facing off against the Knights of Reconciliation.
Did he say where he was going?
There is a barracks for the reconciliators that is basically an inn that they have sort of taken over. You assume he probably operates out of that.
He looks to the other guard and says, "Darian's inn, where his barracks is. Go. Warn them that the reconciliators have begun attacking if they are not already out there."
You see both of them take off opposite directions of the city.
He then stays relatively close to where he is, but he makes sure that the palace is doing what the plan was, keeping the palace safe.
Okay.
So if he sees guards not doing what they should be doing, he's making sure they're doing it.
Okay. So you're essentially acting as like a castellan here in the castle, as acting as the last bastion of defense. Fantastic. You watch the city between the astronomy tower and the area in the city in the castle that you are sort of conducting like a symphony of the lesser trained. You watch the city devolve into chaos. You see guards moving. You hear the swords clanging, spears flashing, shields being hit, and the Wilhelm screams of many deaths. We cut back to the crater that is now full of acrid fog. It is probably up to your like midriff, like right below your ribs, Antares, and it is thick enough that you cannot see your feet. You can see your thighs, but anything below the knee, completely gone. If anything were to jump up from the ground, you wouldn't know. And your sister stands there, maybe 15 feet away from you, as you like slide to the bottom of the bowl, and she just looks at you, waiting. There's the smile of a hungry wolf across her teeth. Everything about her says, "I never wanted to bring you back. I wanted to bring you dead." As you stand off against her face to face. The knights have backed off. They are not here. In fact, you hear several of them leave, leaving you just alone with your sister. What do you do?
Well, she's just gonna leap right off the top and straight up attack her.
Okay. Let's fucking do it, man. Let me see. Let me open up this. Roll me a difficulty 5 attack.
Ooh. Oops. Let's do this way. I don't have any actual attacking abilities other than being bold. Is this bold?
Is bold a?
It's not. I'm totally just going. I'm totally rolling for bullshit here.
Then no.
Okay.
It is not an actual skill that you have.
It's not.
Yeah.
It is a skill, but it's not for anything applicable.
Yeah, it's not a dice skill.
Success.
So you describe what this looks like. You leap off of the top of this crater and at your sister.
Yeah, she does like a battle cry and she leaps off with double-handed with her sword overhead and just plows into her. And yeah, her nimbus isn't as bright, like you said, as Eltanen's, but it's glowing very intensely. And she just drives into her with a lot more force than she's ever driven anything.
Yeah. You see, you leap off the top of this crater, and you see her hands cross up over her head as you bring the sword down. And you bring the sword down, and it clangs on her hands. And you see that her hands, mostly like from the fingertip down to like the knuckle, they have these like conical series of like those like ring things that take up your whole finger, and you see that they are enmeshed across her hand, almost like a Madonna glove, and they are metal gloves and rings. As she places her hands up and blocks this attack, you collide with her hands, and she is driven backwards, and her heeled boots sort of scrape into this crater. As she sort of pushes you and pushes the blade off of her to bring her hands back down. And she says, really? That's it? That's what your scream and jump? Try it again. And she motions for you to hit her again.
Yeah, and I think she was like, you've taken everything from me, and I'm not gonna. And she's kind of, I think she looks a little flustered, and she goes at her again.
Roll for it. For the record, mechanically you hit her, but her armor was higher than your attack.
That's fine. No assets, no effort, failed.
You charge towards her again as she taunts you forward. And as you stab out at her with their blade, she moves out of the way, and you see like the fog like swirls with her, almost like an elaborate gown. And then she grabs your wrist that is like leading with the sword, and she sort of pulls you towards her, and she leans in, and there is a very like cold, soft on the cheek, and you feel it spider out like you just got a shot. That cold just creeps across your face. Roll me a difficulty, a difficulty 5 might defense roll.
Fail.
You take 7 points of speed damage that ignores armor. and your next turn will be spent helpless as you cough and gag. You can feel this cold spiral across your face as if you were just bitten by a spider. It is numb. Your cheek is numb as you cough, and some of that green fog comes out of your mouth as you are doubled over. Your sister behind you sort of walks over as if like a cat with a mouse and says, is this really what you left for? Look at all you could have become. This? And she like points up, sees that you're coughing and gagging on poison, and she grabs the back of your hair and pulls it up. This is all our brother. This. Think about what you could have had. He commands darkness. My mere thought poisons the minds and bodies of whoever I want, and you sit here pitifully with a little sword and shout. Think about what you could have had, what you gave up. For what?
I think she spits in her face.
She like wipes it off.
I don't want it.
You'd rather die here in the mud?
I'm not gonna die. You are.
Roll me an attack.
And as she's thinking, she has like a flash of red light, and she sees Rhea in her mind, and she sees Mina and Korax and Seydlitz. Oh. And she sees red. She thinks back to the fighting pits and how they cheered for her. And they were cheering for something that she doesn't want to be. And so in this moment, she feels like she needs to destroy everything that she was, starting with her sister.
Okay.
And she needs to destroy the dragon, and this is the first thing in her view. And only then will she have true vengeance for what's been done to her, what's been taken from her life, and all the hurt that she's done. She's gonna get vengeance for all the hurt that she's caused on other people.
Okay.
Success.
Hell yeah. You spent effort on that. Okay, fantastic. So you describe this. She's holding you by the hair and pointing at all the things you could have. You kind of spit in her face. She wipes it off. So she's basically like behind you to the side, kind of holding you.
Yeah, I think her whole body just explodes with red light and heat, and her nimbus glows. It's not bright, but it looks like it was forged in fire.
Okay.
It has even has like the black carbon crackling around it, and it looks molten almost. And she snarls at Eltanen, and she just, I will destroy everything that has done this to me. And in doing so, I will have my vengeance. And she thrusts up with a burst of red light. Or like a shockwave comes off of her.
Hell yeah. So you lash out, not even the sword, just a fist or an elbow, back into the face of your sister. She sputters backwards as this red shockwave sort of rebounds, and she wipes a trickle of blood from her nose. And she
turns around, and I'm doing an ability that I have.
Yeah.
Surge in confidence. I gain 1 action immediately after my first recovery roll. So I'm going to recover and then take another action.
Yeah, go for it.
Hello, recovery. 6 points. I'm taking them all back into might. I am attacking her again.
Okay, yeah, hit her. See what happens.
I don't have any abilities that can stop, that I can add to that. Let's go. Fail. I'll spend an XP to re-roll that.
Go for it.
Do I still have to spend those 2? Like,
no, you re-roll the whole thing.
Okay. Too many things to click. Fail. Damn it.
So you bash her. She stumbles backwards, and in a fit of rage, you run towards her. She like wipes the blood off of her nose, and anticipates your attack and quickly moves. Again, the poison gas swirls around her, and you can hear, not close, but still, she's only within like 5 feet of you. She says, "Finally, teeth," as she kind of like chides you along. I'm gonna spend a corruption bar here. Thanks, Snow. As your charge ends, you sort of come to a skid, and you see the area that you were just in, like the fog parts, as you are the source of wind. It sort of like parts away, and you can see that there are, like you described, there are residual cracks of this black, like carbon sort of footprint you made here, with a slight impact, like spider webbing out from the center of the crater. You see as the fog begins to roll in here, and you look across to see your sister, and you, for a second, it's like your vision kind of goes red with that rage, right? That boiling, the reason you were kicked out of the fighting pits. And then there's something you can see as there's like that vignette of that tunnel focus. You see something that sort of snaps you back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. You see at the edge of the crater behind your sister. She can't have any idea that it's there. There's a building. A large part of the building on the base is caved in. Rubble. It's part of the reconstruction process. You see there's wooden frames sort of holding it in place. And you see just a second, 2, maybe 3 heads duck down from inside that building. Small, young, hiding. You are not alone. This section of the city was not devoid of civilians. Your sister has no idea, and whoever is in there, how many ever there are, have no means of escape.
Yeah, she snaps out of, like you said, she snaps out of that blood rage. She's breathing heavily, and it's like every time she breathes in, it's like red courses through her veins, like they just glow with every heartbeat. And the flash of her amber eyes kind of goes away. And she turns and she looks at Eltanen. You know, you almost had me. I don't expect you to understand. I was the funny one. You were the dim-witted one. And she holsters her sword. I'm not stooping to your level anymore, Eltanen. You want me to come home in pieces? Well, I'm not giving it to you. I'm not dying here today, and neither are you. Not by my hand, at least. I made a promise. Maybe one day you'll understand. And she kind of looks her up and down. I don't count on it.
Shock sets across her face. Shock and confusion as you holster your sword. This is a fight. This is a fight to the death. This is not a talk to the death situation. She has no idea what is happening, why you would put away a sword in combat. It's asinine. It's completely doesn't make any sense to her. And she looks to you and, like, takes measure of you.
She stands up straight, and the glow in her veins disappears and just kind of fades away underneath her clothing.
This is it? This is how you wish to die? Just sacrifice?
I feel sorry for you, Eltanen. I really do.
Don't embarrass yourself. Die with pride. Make it fun.
One day I will. But it's not going to be at your hand. And she crouches down and she leaps into the air and she jumps out of the crater and lands on the side. Go play with your stinking cloud. I'm sure it's fun.
She looks up at you, and there's just like that confusion of like you took her toys away and she doesn't understand why. She looks to you and says, This isn't even worth my time at this point. Just kill her." And she like waves, and you know she's probably talking to the Knights of Reconciliation that were around. This is a waste, an absolute waste. And
shut up, she says to her, and as she's saying that, her nimbus, it's like the iron that it's forged out of starts burning away, like a fuse, and the details of the nimbus change, and the glowingness just burns away, and as it does, the light above her head just explodes with the light of a sun. It is blinding. And eventually it gets brighter and brighter until the iron of it is gone, and it's replaced by the clearest gold that you've ever seen. And it is a half of a rising sun at the top, and a crescent moon at the bottom, and in between is a serpentine line that connects the two. And it just glows like the brightest star above her head.
Your nimbus flares, and you see the bright color of the nimbus sort of like pushes back against this shroud of darkness, and you can see now, like someone turned a light on, you can see far more than what you could have seen before. Your light even pierces deeper into the fog cloud. As you see her, she puts her hand up to shield from this. And you look and you see that the reconciliators have backed off. They're now also, they have like their shields or swords sort of blocking their face to act as visors. You can hear now more clearly the sounds of combat around you. From the north side of this crater, you see 5 more Knights of Reconciliation running towards in and sort of skid to a halt as they put their hand up. You can see a few feet behind them is Seydlitz, crossbow drawn, as he skids to a halt as well. You hear another set of footsteps running as a handful of spear-wielding warrior women run out from the east, led by Mina, spear and shield in arm in arm. And all of that slows down as you see the wooden scaffolding at the front of that building. And now that it's clear, and now that you can see and there is light, you can see that the fog cloud isn't just poisonous, it is acidic. And you can see where the cloud touches the wood, it is rotting. And a board snaps. Another one, a piece of stone falls. Another one falls. Another board snaps. And as everyone sort of turns towards that sound, that building starts to topple like a Jenga tower and begins to fall into the crater. There are people in that building at a minimum. It is also falling directly on your now blinded sister. You are the only one with enough time to act, Antares. What do you do?
Sorry, it's falling in the crater and somewhere else?
It is falling into the crater like a Jenga tower.
Oh, okay. I think she takes a step forward and she leaps into the air, and with a flare of her nimbus, with another burst of light, she lands back in the crater and holds up her hand and stops the scaffolding from falling in.
So I can paint this picture here. You are in the crater holding the building up? Superhero style?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Cool. So Seydlitz, Mina, associated NPCs, you run in towards this area. Seydlitz, you immediately see there are several Knights of Reconciliation that have sort of horseshoed around Antares. Antares is glowing like a beacon of sunlight. As you run in here, there's a stinking fog cloud just perfuming the area. And as you all skid to a halt and have to shield your eyes from this, you hear that creaking, snapping wood sound as the building that you are both on either side of begins to topple inward. You see this shining light that is Antares leap forward, casting that light with her into the crater, and the building collapses onto her. The light is snuffed out for all of those of you that are outside of the crater. The dust sort of settles, pushing out both debris, dust, and some of this fog cloud as well as your eyes reset to the darkness. And all at once, you all, including Korax, who is in his astronomy tower, you see almost like someone pulled the plug on a drain. You see the darkness spiral at the center and pull down, like someone like pulled down a curtain. It all sort of comes out from around the city and back in and down. Korax, Seydlitz, Mina, you see something fall from the sky and land heavy in the crater. More of the building sort of shatters. Korax, that's the last you see, but just sort of dust plumes around. Mina, Seydlitz, it is the light sort of glows back in. It is dusk. The sun is setting. This would be the end of the parade, should there have been one today. And you see a smallish, kind of reminds you of Korax, minus the red hair, has sort of dark coiffed hair, but thin frame, bookish type, a man inside this crater. And he begins to pull through the rubble. Mina and Seydlitz, what are you doing?
Mina will rush into the rubble as well and start looking for survivors.
Seydlitz?
Out of the way, you useless knights!
You see the knights run off towards the other knights. There's clangs of armor and shields as they begin their duty. Do you head to the well?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, the crater, rather.
Yep.
Okay, you slide down from your angle, Mina. You slide down from your angle. You're moving boulders and rubble. The thin man sees you, Mina, and just sort of looks to you. And there's like a moment of like recognition. You don't recognize him, but he seems to recognize you. And he just sort of shrugs this off, and he's pulling at vastly smaller rocks than you are. But he is pulling at rocks. And a rock gets moved, and you can hear people in there. You can hear voices. Mina, you begin to pull some boulders out of the way. You see a hand stick out towards you, and you begin to pull people out. There was probably 5 or 6 civilians taking shelter in here. They are bruised, battered, cut, but all 6 are alive. As you pull them out, Seydlitz begins to pull them out. This thin man begins to help pull some out as well. And then you see a light shining from under the rubble. We cut back. And Terry's, you just had a building fall on you, my dude. You are under a building. The rubble has fallen in such a way that it has almost created a half moon around you as you hold it up with all of your divine force. At your feet is your sister. The building fell. She fell with it, cowered. And you are protecting her from being crushed by a whole-ass building. You can hear the rubble shifting. Someone's moving around outside. What do you do in this moment?
I think it's like daytime in this hole with her nimbus glowing. And she has her hand up. She's not touching the rock, but it's like she's holding it up with her hand. And then she moves her hand down and offers it to her.
She looks up to you, and there is that same disdainful hatred, but an acknowledgement. And she reaches her hand up to you, and for a moment, you think she might take it. And then she backhands it out of the way. I don't need help from you.
Fine.
More rocks shift on the outside. Fall away. People are moving the rubble. They're getting closer.
I didn't expect you to understand. I'm not the same person anymore. Clearly. This is your one get out of jail free card. You leave this city. And you don't come back. If you come back, next time I see you, I might not be so merciful.
More rubble shifts. She looks to you, narrows her vision, and says, "We'll never stop."
Aren't you tired? I was tired. And now I found a new purpose. And when you're alone in the dark, maybe you'll think of me. Maybe you'll miss me just a little bit. Maybe. Maybe I'll think of you. Maybe. But you're not going to win here today. You're not going to get any piece of me back. So you take our brother and you go.
Mother has us on a mission. It's never going to stop. You, your little friends. She's seen them. She knows them by name. They're marked in the book.
I know. I've seen the book.
You have no idea what's coming. And she leans back and reaches her hand towards the outside shell of your bubble of protection.
Mm-hmm.
And you see one of the pieces of rubble shift. And it's almost as if a sliver of shadow sort of slides in, and she grabs it. And in an instant, you see her enveloped in darkness and like elongates and is pulled out of this. Mina and Seydlitz, you see the man move some rubble, stick his hand inside, and everything from where his hand goes in turns jet black like the sky just was. And he pulls something out. And you see whatever he pulls out, him and this thing hit the ground and slither away into darkness, moving between shadows and shadows from buildings and limbs of trees and rubble, disappearing, and more light. These shafts of light can be seen from in here. You are getting closer to whatever this light source is at the center. And Teres, your friends will be there in a second. You are left alone in this dome. What's going through your head in this moment?
I think she feels a little lighter now. She knows it's not over. And Iltanen will most definitely make her pay for the mercy she showed her today. But she just couldn't do it. She couldn't kill her or let her die. It didn't seem right anymore.
Rubble shifts. Hands reach through the holes, and you see Mina, the faces of Mina and Seydlitz. And though you were wrapped in a cloak of grief, in your time of need, your friends rallied. And you see both of them looking down at you as their hands reach in to pull you out. And as this thought goes through your head, pain goes through Korex's head.
Yay!
As a new god has just ascended in the Afterworld. And that is where we end this episode of The Rise, episode 28, A Time to Reconcile. Let's go around, do our introductions, get the hell out of here so we can do our after show, which if you guys want access to the after show, it's at the $5 tier over on our Patreon, link down below. Highly recommend. You get this after show and all the after shows for the last 3 years and change. So go check that out. Thank you all for being here. Super, super fun. Let's start with our newest god. G, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? What are you up to?
Hi, I'm G, your friendly neighborhood lightning invoker. You can find me modding for all things unMadeGaming, and you'll find me playing on all things Patreon. And you can find me in the Discord and on Twitter.
Hell yeah. Our second newest god, Matt, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you up to?
I'm Matt or D. I play Seydlitz, and you'll find me in the Patreon campaign and the one-shots and Mike's Discord.
Hell yeah. The third new one, Snow, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? What are you up to?
I'm Normal Snow. You can find me in the Patreon campaign and in the Discord.
Perfect. And our first god to be born and first to die. Chris, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you up to?
I'm Chris, aka Necro, top of the list of new gods. The top is always the best, right? You can find me here on the Rise, on the Patreon one-shots, and the Atari Twilight Age of Always, when that is next scheduled. Other than that, Discord.
Hell freaking yes. As always, thank you guys for being here. Hope you're enjoying this show. Can't wait to have a war. That being said, we are out of here. We'll see you next month, May 6th, for the next episode of The Rise. So from all of us to you guys, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.